Welcome to Master the Game. I'm Juice, and today I am going to be helping somebody who posted a question in a Pathfinder 2nd Edition group. They wanted to know, how would you handle a specific situation that involves a large tree and goblins? So let's get started. All right, so the other day I was on Facebook and stumbled across a post in a Pathfinder 2nd Edition group. And it said, it was from Matthew Ransom. And I asked him if I could take this and put it in here, and he said yes. So he asked me to tag him afterwards. I will be doing so. It says, need some help. I have a player that wants to take down a large tree and drop it onto a goblin camp and crush 3 of them. How will this work? I am at a loss of words. So, in the midst of this, he was posting this while playing, it sounded like. And it got me thinking. First of all, some of the responses, it's very clear there's a lot of different play styles around tabletop RPGs. We all know this. And the thing that got me really thinking is you have a lot of people who are saying, you can't do that quietly. The goblins are going to know. It takes a long time to chop down a tree. And me, I'm like, let them do it, right? So how would I let them do it? Well, I'm going to get into that in a minute. But the play style thing was a huge deal to me because you have players who are trying to come up with creative ways other than just running up and hitting something with their weapons. And I think you need to encourage that at your tables. At least that's the type of play I like. If you don't like that, that's fine. But I feel like if you stifle something like this, you're going to end up stifling other ideas in the future. And so I really wanted to run with it. So I started coming up with ideas. And, by the rules, you can't stealth while, chopping down a tree or anything like that. And when people were asking questions, I think he said they were like 15 feet away from the tree, right? Which is really close. Like, from me to my door in this room is probably more than 15 feet. And to try and think of cutting down a tree, whether I'm sawing or hacking at it or whatever, there's no way to do that quietly. Unless you have a spell like silence or something like that. But that wasn't in the equation, so I'm assuming they don't have that. Now, if you're going to encourage being creative, I think you have to suspend disbelief a little bit at times. And it's something that I try to do in my games. I try not to, hold games to real world standards to that extent. And so I would even point out at the table, like, well, it's not really realistic, but I'll allow it this once, right? Now, the way I would do it, one of the first things I would do is I would figure out, okay, how long is this task going to take? How thick is the tree, right? It conceivably would take a professional a long time, at least a minute or two, to hack through a tree. Now, that's a lot of rounds. You don't want to bog down play for, 10 rounds of hacking to try and make this happen. But you also don't want to leave it up to a single die roll. So the way I thought I would do this, and I was talking about this with my wife, who you frequently see on my channel here, and I would probably do a series of checks. I'd probably call out a difficulty of a set number. So I might say, oh, the difficulty is 50, and I'm going to use whatever they're, like, say they're sawing at it, right? I might, I don't know, do a woodworking or some kind of relevant skill. And so then they would have to roll. I would then roll their stealth for them because they're trying to be quiet. I would then also roll their the goblin's perception as well. So I would do both. And then if they, whatever their number is, I'd write that down. Okay, 17. Say my difficulty is 50, right? 17. Okay. It didn't cut through yet. You're maybe a little over a quarter of the way through. Do it again. They roll. I make the other 2 rolls, right? So it's the stealth against the perception, but meanwhile, they're doing that. Now, if they critically fail, like roll a nat 1, that's going to have or 10 under a DC or whatever. Which in this case, you're not doing a DC that's like normal, right? So I would probably just rule nat ones would actually be catastrophic, right? Be like, oh crap, they rolled a nat one. They made like a lot of noise, so now the goblins have advantage on their perception check, something like that, right? And then again, until they get 50. Once they get 50, it comes down, and it'll work as long as the goblins didn't perceive it. But they're not going to know if the goblins perceived it because I'm going to be making those rolls. Now, if the goblins perceived it, now we're going into some combat. But if you notice, it would be very hard still to accomplish what the players were trying, but you're not telling them no. And that's a big thing. And so I think if you're doing it this way, you're going to see that these players are going to come up with other cool ideas. If they succeed on that, the story is going to be great. That's going to be so memorable, 10 sessions down the road. We're like, do you remember when we cut that tree down and it fell on the goblins and we got all around that encounter without having to really get dirty? Like, that's the stuff I'm talking about. So this is the kind of play I think you should not necessarily reward, but encourage. And, by letting them still try or attempt to do it and not making it completely impossible, but making it a little bit harder if you feel like it's unrealistic or whatever, is completely fine. So that's what I would do. Now, the problem with hampering your players and saying no, the next time something comes up, one of them might have the idea, but in their head, they might go, oh, well, last time I was told no, or, oh, I was told that was impossible, and my character would know that, so I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like at the table, you don't want your players to ever second guess what they might be allowed to do. I think you want them to, like, when they come up with an idea, throw it out there and just go with it. So too often I see game masters not going with what their players' ideas are, and it's unfortunate because I think there's a lot of people, and I've witnessed this with my wife playing in a game where she was told no on a description of something before, and it just crushed her for that game. Like, she lost complete interest in the game after that, and you could tell because she was like, well, then what's the point if I can't do this thing, So again, you don't want to completely stifle people. Encourage them. So that's my take on this, Matthew. I hope you found this helpful. Anyone out there who watched this, I hope you find this helpful, and just think twice before you tell your players no. If this is your first time here, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Give me a like, and we will see you guys next time. This was Master the Game. I am Juice. Game on.